All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday afternoon, Blackout Wednesday, whatever terminology you might want to use. Regardless, we got 11 games on DraftKings, 14 on FanDuel, one of the biggest NBA slates every year. Always get off on Thanksgiving, play a bunch of games the day before. Makes your job, Rio, very difficult on the slate plan. Everything is up, though. Slate plan, stone, core report, a billion gazillion Q tags we will talk about. Stuff will change throughout. Our team will be in Discord. Also, projections, ownership will be updated. It's going to be a crazy one, Rio. 11 games. How you feeling on this Wednesday?
Feeling good. Very prepared for this one. Ready to talk some hoops. Ton of if-then scenarios we got to go through game by game. Really pointless to talk about at the top of the show because there's going to be a ton of news changing throughout the day. But luckily, it's not too crazy of a slate in terms of start times. Got a bulk of the game starting at that 7 p.m. Eastern slot, and then nice little break after that. So we'll have a showdown tonight, and the main slate stuff should be pretty fun. So I'm excited to get into it. Yeah,
solid night slate as well. Again, FanDuel doesn't include all the games, but broken up pretty nice on DraftKings, as you mentioned. Multiple 7 Eastern games, one game at 7:30, a couple games at 8 p.m. Eastern, one game at 8:30. So a bulk of them at 7, what you like to see. Always got to say hi to people in chat. Wins a lot. Sean Sullivan, Michael Ortiz, Paraby, Richard, Lone Star, Wardo, William, our man BJ. What's going on, BJ? Charlie, Chris, Marquis, Kevin, Richard. Appreciate every single one hanging out. Hey, nothing better to make a little cheese before Thanksgiving. Parlay that onto the NFL slate. Hoop, Tambo, myself talked about it a couple hours ago. You can watch that back. Drew Lock in company for the Giants. Excited for those 3 games. No, Rio will be in the streets as well. Get a day off from NBA. Christmas time, though, Rio. We talk about that. No days off in the NBA streets. Always a fun one. Hit that like button. We appreciate that. You got that right, Al or Austin. Subscribe button helps us out a ton. Big Ed, what's going on? Max, what's going on as well? Before we go, this is the stone, of course, that we are pulling up. We have a new promo. Black Friday. Obviously, you guys, plenty of people probably go out, probably their wives, girlfriends go out more so, do the shopping on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, can save a lot. We also have a promo code just came out today, BF50, gets you 50% off your first month, all access. That is with Shiptimizer, without Shiptimizer, $69, cut down to, what is the math there, like $33.50, $34.50, something along those lines. $34.50 sounds right. It is $34.50. Bad math over here. $34.50 for all of our content. MMA is going on. PGA is not going on quite yet. I think it's a swing season, but NBA, we're in there full force. Nades has NHL. College football teams keeps crushing it. NFL still going on. All the big prizes. First month, get for 50% off with BF50. Also does include Shiptimizer if you want to go that route. $99 then turns in to $48.50. I hope my math was right there. I think so. You guys get the drill. BF50, 50% off. Football, if you just want that rest of the season, $99. Without Shiptimizer, $129. With Shiptimizer, goes all the way through the playoff Super Bowl. Like you see, you do not need a code for that. College football is also included. Both of the monthly plans, 50% off, do include Discord as well. Definitely hop in there. An awesome community we have. Anyone else in here? Go Fives, what's going on? Kevin, what's going on? Gangrene, Evan as well. All right, Drew Lock's the winner. Hey, I'm excited to watch little Drew Lock. 11 games, Rio. We got no time to waste. There is a bajillion injury news, but instead of just hitting it at the top, I feel like I'll just go game by game like always, say the spread, the total, what injury designations we have, and we'll go from there because there is a lot of Q tags, as you guys will find out. Any other words you want to say, Rio, or should we get right into it?
Let's get into it.
First game of the night. Multiple games at 7 Eastern. Miami Heat taking on the Charlotte Hornets, 218 total. Heat 3.5 point favorites. Injury report in this one, Haywood Highsmith is questionable on the Miami side. For Charlotte, no Miles Bridges, Grant Williams, or Trey Mann. One of the few games without many Q tags. We know where the injuries are going in this one. Looking at ownership, we're looking on the Heat side. We definitely have to refresh that. Not really any ownership going to the Heat. For the Hornets, though, you see Brandon Miller. You see, I'm going to say his name, Saloon. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Both look like solid plays. Saloon, some value. Guard forward eligibility for Brandon Miller. LaMelo's been hooping too, so I want you to start on the Hornets side if you can, and then take us to the Heat after.
Yeah, so LaMelo got the midday downgrade to a probable with the wrist injury, which I think is a little bit kind of got to treat that more like a questionable tag because this is the same wrist that he's had injured in the past. So definitely keep an eye on that moving forward because if he does miss, I mean, they just are out of guys that can handle the ball and really produce any sort of offense. They've been running damn near 100% of their offense through LaMelo and Brandon Miller over the last couple of games as they're missing, Trey Mann, who's a very valuable piece for them off the bench, and Miles Bridges, who's their second or third best offensive player. So, yeah, they'd be very thin if LaMelo were to miss. So keep an eye on that. Do expect him to play through it, though. The Haywood Highsmith injury is not super big. We did see Pelly Larson get in there and pretty much take over all those minutes when Haywood Highsmith missed last night. Pretty interesting that Nikola Jovic was completely out of the rotation. Terry Rozier going to continue to come off of the bench as they will be starting Duncan Robinson moving forward. And I think that will definitely work better for Terry Rozier handling that second unit usage a little bit more. But yeah, Miami coming off of a pretty bad loss last night with a Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks team. Gave up a ton of three-pointers, gave up 23 pointers in that game, 8 to Damian Lillard alone. Hornets coming into the game very thin on the injury front with Bridges out. So going to continue to see LaMelo and Brandon Miller take all the shots that they can tonight. Both teams definitely stand out as more three-point funnels. The Heat kind of talk about all the time. They've always been the team that's going to try to limit easy scoring at the rim. But their rim defense has actually not been that great this season either. So maybe there's a little bit more upside on a guy like Moussa Diabate, who's pretty much just a rebound-only guy. He's taking like 2 to 3 shots a game. I've seen him get to double-digit scoring a couple times earlier this season. But, yeah, I mean, if he gets, 6-7 shot attempts up and he can make 4 or 5 of them, get a double-double, he could definitely pay off this price tag in a really big way. So I don't mind Diabate as a value tonight on a slate that might not have a ton of value. Probably will change throughout the day, but as it stands right now, not a ton of really strong value. Yeah, there's not really much I can say about LaMelo. He just has a massive usage rate with Miles Bridges off the court and out of the lineup this season. 44% usage rate, 52% assist percentage, 8% rebounding rate, 8.6 minutes of touch time the last 3 games. Plus 8% usage rate increase with Bridges off the court, averaging a very Wemby-like 1.74 fantasy points per minute. So he's an excellent play tonight if he's in and given the green light to play his full minutes, which have been right around 40 regulation minutes. So we should see a ton from him. Brandon Miller, same thing, going to take a ton of shots, getting all the usage when LaMelo is off the court. The rebounding rates have gotten a very big increase as well with Bridges and Grant Williams off the court. Double-digit rebounds in the back-to-back games. Pretty respectable 1.09 fantasy points per minute with Bridges and all those other guys off the court. So he looks pretty solid. Yeah, I don't know how to say Salon's first name, so I'm not even going to try. But, yeah, he's the kind of play that I'm okay getting away from if we do get value later in the day because he's just such a low usage guy. I mean, nobody is taking more than 4 shot attempts on this team as long as LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller are out there. So kind of a guy I'm okay getting away from. He can't really generate too much offense on his own, really just an off-ball type of guy. And LaMelo and Miller are taking all the shots. So I'm okay getting away from that chalk. Yeah, nothing really else stands out on the Charlotte side. On the Miami side, pretty much a full X out for me. I think you can make a case for Jimmy Butler with the Hornets being a little bit weaker with their rim defense, but I don't know if there's too much upside on an 11-game slate for a Jimmy Butler type play tonight. Would be fine as the last man in. Matchup is decent for Bam. Moussa Diabate has actually been a very good defender in his short sample, so not really. It's probably a neutral matchup for Bam. And then Hero a little bit too expensive now for life with Jimmy Butler. So I'm kind of okay getting away from this game as a whole outside of those 3 Charlotte guys that I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think LaMelo and Brandon Miller are two of the best plays on the slate. I mean, who's had LaMelo's type usage this year? You mentioned Wemmy's points per minute, but like touch time, ball handling, usage, shot attempts, like
It's really
who's
just like
comparable?
it's him and Cade pretty much. Like they have very similar roles, but it's like nobody's even close to LaMelo right now with all the injuries going on. Like he's just doing everything.
Yeah, played all the minutes, just absolutely chalk it. Like, man, he is such a strong play even at that price tag. Brandon Miller looks great too. The Jimmy, yeah, if I was gonna go anyone on the Heat, it would be Jimmy. Since his absence coming back, the usage has been solid. He's getting the free throw line a ton. Which also, do you think it's going to be that saloon guy on him, or do you think they're going to go like Josh Green? Because that would even poke more of a holes in some saloon ownership. Is Jimmy's so good at drawing fouls? Any thoughts on who might guard him?
Yeah, I think it would probably be Salon on Jimmy, and then they would probably throw Green on Hero. I would imagine they could put LaMelo on Duncan, Brandon Miller on whoever's starting at power forward. So I think they would put Salon on Jimmy.
Yeah, that makes me like him a little less. Yeah, not really much more to add in that game. LaMelo, Brandon Miller for sure. Heat side easier. Fade, you liked Diabate a little bit too. Power forward and center eligible, which is nice. What did I will say, man, Lonzo was hooping before his injury. Like, I mean, he actually plays defense. He gets others. I mean, LaMelo's a good passer too, and he draws so much attention. But Lonzo was hitting his trays, and he was really running point well, I thought. So
Yeah.
LaMelo's better though, but that was sad. Yeah, 68 shot attempts in 2 games, absolutely insane. Getting stocks too. What's going on, Ken Linen, Bills Mafia, Mr. Mike's daddy? Appreciate you as well, Nate D. Yeah, good start. Hornets side, a couple interesting pieces. Heat, a pretty easy fade. I think we go to the next game where I do not have much interest at all. Big spread. This is one of my fade games. 11 games make it 10. However, maybe you tell me I'm wrong because there's a big boy total. Hawks, Cavs, 240.5 total. Cavs are big favorites. At 10, though, maybe that does change my interest. Trae Young's questionable. So if you do think he's out, I definitely will change my mindset a little bit. If he's in, I still don't love it. Going to the Cleveland side, no Karis LeVert, no really injury news there. So, yeah, I mean, talk about Trae to start. I will say, if he is out, I do have much more interest in like a Jalen Johnson. Dyson Daniels is 6'4" now, though. Man, I don't know. You'll have to talk to me about that. Jalen Johnson for sure at a fair tag at 8'4". Cavs side, big boy favorites, and Garland and Mitchell there. They just eat into each other so much, Mobley and stuff. So it's a fade for me if Trae Young plays, unless you talk me into something else.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I think the Atlanta side is a pretty easy full fade if Trae Young does play. But, I mean, he's pretty truly questionable dealing with this Achilles injury. The Atlanta Hawks also got fined for $100K for the injury reporting at the NBA Cup game. They listed Trae out with an Achilles injury, I believe, but it was actually for the birth of his daughter. So yeah, NBA.
Why would they lie about that?
I don't know. Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
That's easy to find. Like, oh, Trae now as a kid, like it didn't just rant. Like that's really dumb.
They could have just listed it as personal, like Jokic has been doing. So yeah, I don't know. Just weird. What? It was just stupid. But I think that they listed him pretty early in the day. It could just been like a kind of sending a message to the NBA, being like, okay, like you're gonna fine us for not listing him correctly. Like, let's just get this out of the way early type thing. But I mean, he's truly questionable. Been dealing with a plethora of injuries. Quinn Snyder has said he's dealing with more than just the Achilles. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that if Trae is healthy, that sorry, how am I trying to word this? Like Cleveland deserves to be 10-point favorites, even if Trae is in. If he's out, definitely deserves to be 10-point favorites. But so it's kind of hard to say. Like you can sometimes tell with a spread if somebody's going to miss. Very up in the air here, but we'll get that news on time because it's a 4 p.m. game. So 7 p.m. for you Eastern guys. But yeah, this is a pretty big mismatch for the Cavs. All around one of the best teams in the league, 17-1 right now, ranking 10th in defensive rating, first in offensive rating. Hawks are 9th worst defensive rated team, playing up in pace, though, second fastest pace right now behind the Chicago Bulls. The Hawks are a massive 3-point funnel this season, dead last in that category, allowing the most catch and shoot points. Also dead last in pick and roll defense, and their transition defense has been getting a little bit worse lately as well. The one area of weakness for the Cavs is their 3-point defense allowing just over 14 per game. But yeah, if Trae Young is in, full fade on the Hawks for me tonight. If he's out, I can get to Jalen Johnson. He's been very good this year. Just the role alongside Trey has been very solid. I think he's second in the league in touches per game, but he's going to see a really big increase in usage, 4.5% usage rate increase. Going to be right around 1.5 fantasy points per minute. He's going to play 36 minutes, so he project very well, even at 8.4K, even in a very, very tough matchup. I would still be looking to get to him because he's the type of guy that will flirt with a triple-double pretty much every time Trey is out. So I think that if we're going to get him at low ownership, he'd be a very excellent play. Dyson Daniels, I would imagine, would take over the point guard if Trae Young doesn't get ruled out, and they probably would just throw Bogdanovich into the lineup. I know there was some discussion in Discord earlier today about Kobe Buffkin. I just don't think they haven't done it in the past. As long as Bogdan has been healthy, it's pretty much been Bogdan sliding in there. Now you have somebody that's a little bit more of a true point guard in Dyson Daniels that makes it a lot easier. So I would imagine they keep Buffkin off the bench for that second unit role. But outside of that, not too much interest. Maybe we can get to Bogdan if Trae Young is out. I have to look at some rates last year for Bogdan, but he's 5K and getting healthier, good matchup for 3-point shooters. So I wouldn't mind that. On the Cleveland side, I definitely have a little bit more interest in you than on that side of things. I like the guards here a lot. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. Mitchell's had some his best games against Atlanta this season. One of those was in the in-season tournament where they were just kind of running up the score. But even then, the team struggles in pick and roll scenarios, allowing a ton of points per game to 3-point shooters. So I think this is a pretty solid spot for him. Donovan Mitchell, above average transition scorer, and he's averaging just under 9 points per game in pick and roll situations. Darius Garland is going to be avoiding Dyson Daniels on defense, as they'll put Dyson on Donovan Mitchell. And Garland is actually 9th in the league in pick and roll scoring this season, going up against the worst pick and roll defense. So I think there's a little bit more upside for these guards. And the matchup's pretty good for the bigs, too. Atlanta has generally been a pretty bad team protecting the rim, a little bit better this season, but Evan Mobley been very solid coming off of double-digit boards in 5 of his last 7 games. Atlanta is allowing the 6th most fantasy points per game to power forward, so I think that he's in a totally fine spot. Would be max 1, Donovan Mitchell and Garland, max 1, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, and probably just max 2 overall in this game.
Great stuff. Quentin, I just responded in the YouTube chat how to do that, so check that out. There is a way to link it on your account. Otherwise, email info@shipitnation.com. That'll be easy. Definitely do get the Discord again. Any member out there, weekly does not include Discord. Everything else does. And if you're a member, you most definitely want to get in the Discord. Huge piece of our product. There we go. Go to site. Go to the site. Go to account. Scroll down. Go to connect Discord. So there you go. Thank you very much, Nate D. And Richard. Yeah, most definitely viable to play the mid-tier build instead of Stars and Scrubs today. Actually, probably think that's preferred, or like one of LaMelo, another spend up, or like a D Mitch Trey, just looking at this game, or D Mitch Tyrese we're going to talk about. I don't love the value, and I think there is some strong mid-tier plays. Any thoughts on that, quick, Rio? Totally fine.
I haven't looked at the builds, but I think that would be more of a mid-tier slate. There's just not a ton of great value right now. Definitely going to change, though. I mean, it's a huge slate. There's going to be guys that get ruled out that aren't even listed right now. So
100%. Like, there's a billion Q tags. I will say, though, I mean, we have studs on the slate. There's no doubt about it. Wemby, Anthony Davis, LaMelo, LeBron. I never really get to too much LeBron. It's either usually AD or nothing. Wemby at 10-8, you can play him. He won't be that owned. But like Franz at 9-7, we're going to get to in a little bit. Cat, Kyrie, all those guys are still a little below 10K. You can easily go 2 of them. I wouldn't call that stars and scrubs necessarily, but yeah, I think grabbing at least one probably above 9K is my preferred route. And then from there, just fill it in is how I see it. But yeah, I do expect some of these Q tags to be out, and that could force an AD or a Wemby or something more comfortable for sure. Good stuff, Real. Let's keep it rolling. And it makes sense. I mean, the Cavs are implied for 125 points. Like, is it going to be Garland? Is it going to be Mitchell? Is it going to be Mobley? Craig Porter? I mean, I don't like Craig Porter much, but like Jerome. They just have ways that they all can just have middling games. And I think you need some flames on this slate, no doubt about it. D. Mitch would be my favorite. He had, 360s in a row before a couple little less. So he'd be my preferred if I picked one. Not a game I really like. All right, no need to be sorry at all, Richard. We'll keep it going. Next game, still plenty to talk about. Portland Trailblazers taking on Indiana Pacers. We have 232 total. Big boy favorites are the Pacers again at 10.5. injury reports, nothing on the Pacers side. They are healthy. Portland side, or at least they've been as healthy as they have been recently. Portland side, Scoot and DeAndre Ayton are both questionable. Jeremy Grant is doubtful. Donovan Cleveland and Robert Williams are out, Rio. And man, if Ayton's out, they are buried at the front court. So Duop Reith, is he back in our life? Talk about Portland if you have leans on the Q tags with Scoot Ayton. Interesting spot though. Like, I always love Banton. You talked about him last week with Paraby. Very much in play. You guys were ahead of the curve there. Denny Avdia, our guy from last year, I think he's very good. Stuffs the stat sheet, very fair price tag. And that's the stuff. Like, give me all the Avdia of the world, or Banton at 4-5 compared to like these 3K guys that we have right now, just to get up to like the Wembys of the world. So that's the thought there. Break it down, and then you can talk about thoughts on Sensabaugh as well. He took your avatar, Rio. Is that the burner?
It was. Oh yeah, I saw he was in here yesterday. I forgot to mention that, but yeah, we got the same Avi.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
eating stuff.
Yeah, I just want to say first, like, we've as a group in the Discord, like, it's not just me. There's a lot of very sharp people in there. Paraby, Little Neck, Sean, like Newens, a bunch of guys that I'm definitely not mentioning or forgetting to mention as well. I've done a very good job pinpointing some low-owned plays, and I think we've been, very close. Like, been kind of kicking myself because I've been super overweight on guys like Denny last night or 2 nights ago when he had that 40 ball, and it didn't really work out because some of the other values that were we were high on didn't hit. But then, like, even somebody will talk about later in that Memphis game, like, we were super high as a team, like the SHIPIT Nation team, super high on Scottie Pippen Jr. when he had that slate breaking game, and he was like 3% owned. So we've done a very good job at pinpointing these low-owned plays that the industry is generally pretty low on. Kind of sucks now because Denny is going to be high-owned. We're not going to sneak him past anybody. He's kind of a guy that everybody is usually pretty excited to play, but definitely not sneaking him past anybody tonight. So just want to touch on that really quick. I think that people in Discord definitely deserve some credit there.
So many in there. Yeah, shout out. I mean, Wardo's always in there too.
Wardo
Jonathan
too, yeah.
is always in there. Like, so many very sharp guys. You lead the way. Like Ham, BJ, shout out to them. No better NBA Discord out there. You guys always on top, and you guys sweating the games out until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., like my time. The games are over, and you guys are still breaking stuff down. So, yeah, shout out the members for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But in terms of the injury stuff for this one, yeah, I mean, if no Ayton tonight, they're going to be super thin. They'll definitely go with Jabari Walker at the 5 because he did start the second half last game for Robert Williams. Jay Crowder finally signed with the Kings. It's a pretty decent signing.
I said that about the Bucks, and the dude literally sat at the end of the bench for a year and a half, it felt like.
Yeah. There's a really good follow on Twitter for anybody that is interested in this kind of stuff. I've normally not really been into like all the astrology, like zodiac stuff, but there's a guy on there called the Zodiac GM that does like pretty much like chemistry ratings based off these guys' zodiac signs, and it's pretty cool. Like the New York Knicks have like an A+ rating, and you can kind of see. I mean, it makes sense. Like, I'm not super into that stuff, but it's
Nova.
Yeah,
would have been A++ if they kept Dante, but Cat was a good pickup.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, pretty cool follow there for anybody that's interested in that stuff. But yeah, if Ayton is out tonight, definitely gonna be Jabari at the 5. Duop Reith will definitely get some minutes behind him because they'll just have nobody in the front court. They did run Denny Avdia a little bit at the center, but you can't really do that now because Jeremy Grant was playing the 4, and Jeremy Grant is gonna miss tonight. So gonna be straight 3-4 for Denny, and then we'll definitely see 48 from Jabari Walker and Duop Reith. If Chris Murray is out, kind of same thing. They definitely can't go small ball. A little bit more likely with Murray being slightly bigger on the wing, so they could run him at the 3 or the 4, and then put Denny at the 5. But if he misses, then you're probably getting Ryan Repair in there. Not really somebody you're looking to play in terms of a value play, but he's going to get minutes. And then if no Scoot, more minutes for Delano Benton. Indy is pretty healthy for the most part, obviously, without all those guys, those centers, and then Nesmith, Nemhard, and Ben Shepherd still out, but they've been, Quinn Jackson's been holding it down pretty nicely over there. From a matchup perspective, going to be a pretty decently mismatched team here with Indy playing a little bit up. generally a pretty fast-paced team against Portland, who is struggling in transition right now. Their rim defense has definitely gotten worse with Ayton off the court with no Kling in there. They're going to be a lot worse. Pretty decently big three-point funnel as well. Pacers kind of the same thing. They're, worse rim defense, taking away easy three-pointers. So, definitely a spot the Pacers should look to get out and run in transition. They're top 3 in transition scoring this season from a points per possession perspective. There's really not a large enough sample this season with all the injury stuff, but I think that we can kind of do some deductive reasoning, and we pretty much know like Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons are going to be the 2 high usage guys for Portland with Scoot and Ayton out. So they would look pretty solid and not really that bad of matchups. One of these guys is going to get Quinn Jackson on defense. I would imagine it's probably Shaedon Sharpe, just with him being a little bit more of a true guard, and they could throw Tyrese Halliburton on Simons or maybe Bennedict Mathurin. But whichever one is going to avoid Quinn Jackson on defense, I would have a little bit of interest in. These guys look pretty solid plays in the mid-tier, and we talk about this being more of a mid-tier type slate. So I think both those guys would look pretty good. I'd probably be max 1 because I think that if we get like an ultimate ceiling from one of these guys, it's probably coming at the expense of the other. I love Denny Avdia at 5.5K tonight. I'm going to be playing him a ton. He's looked very good this season, especially in those minutes without all these guys off the court. With with the 2 bigs off the court, seen a big increase in rebounding. He does a little bit of everything. 17, 8, and 6 stat line for just under 40 DK points, 40.5 DK points the game before that with a double-double. Has a massive point per minute increase when you take all these guys off the court. So he looks very good in a matchup versus a Pacers team that is pretty bad with their rim defense, and they struggle against opposing wings. So I think this is a pretty solid spot for Denny. I think Toumani Camara could play a ton of minutes here, and he's probably going to go overlooked. So if you want to get some leverage off of Denny, who's probably going to be 30+% owned, I don't think that he is very out of play. I mean, big fan of his game, taking a lot more shots as well. He's a very, very good defender. I think underrated defender. I was talking to Sean Sullivan about him in chat the other day. But yeah, he would be a pivot off of Denny. I don't think anybody's going to go there. That's pretty much it on the Portland side. I think you definitely get to Ben if Scoot is out, and then you're definitely going to want one of Jabari Walker or Duop Reith if Ayton is out because they're going to play a ton of minutes. Would definitely prefer Jabari Walker for the power forward eligibility. I don't think you need to be max 1 there though, just because we're going to need value. And if we're getting 48 true center minutes from these guys, you're paying 7.9K for 2 centers pretty much that are going to get full run pretty much. They do take up 2 roster spots, but both pretty good values. On the Pacers side, I'm going to be underweight Tyrese Halliburton, not because I need to take a stand against him or anything like that. We've been kind of going back and forth whether or not to play him. He looks like he's back now. Played a lot better last game, obviously, in that back and forth matchup versus New Orleans. But I don't know. I'm kind of underweight him just because the matchup looks pretty tough against Camara. I do expect Camara to get that matchup. He's shooting the ball a lot better, though. The usage rate and assist rate, touch time, everything looks pretty much in line with where he was last year. So I wouldn't fault anybody for going there, but I just don't think that I'm going to be getting there tonight. Like the matchup for Siakam, but as Halliburton has kind of done better, it's been at the expense of Siakam. Should be able to beat up on this weak rim defense, though. 7.3 price tag looks pretty good, but he's been, very underwhelming in terms of fantasy production. Hasn't posted a tournament-worthy score in quite some time. Really not that much this season. So
his usage is like hardly above 25% any game. What's his average? Like 21.8 or something? Eye test wise, like it ain't great.
Yeah, it's not that good. He needs to be very efficient scoring the ball, which could, that comes and goes, and they have a pretty solid team total, so it's possible that it happens tonight. But yeah, I don't really like what I've seen just from the eye test perspective. Bennedict Mathurin though looks good. He's been very good in filling in for Aaron Nesmith, and it's a good matchup for guys that are scoring out there in transition. So I think that he might be a sneaky option. 6.7K goes along with that mid-tier build. And then Miles Turner, last guy I will mention, 6.5K. Actually, he won't be the last guy I mentioned because I want to talk about the guards really quick after that. But he's really good at 6.5K. I think this is a very solid matchup for him. Hasn't been playing a ton of minutes, dealing with that calf injury. But if Ayton were to miss, he's going to be a matchup with some undersized centers and definitely some guys that he should have a advantage offensively. So I like Miles Turner a good bit here. And then TJ McConnell and Quinn Jackson, I think, could both make your player pool. Guards have been killing the Blazers all season long. They don't really have a lot of point of attack defenders. So I think either one of these guys makes a ton of sense. Definitely would not be pairing TJ with Tyrese Halliburton, but I'd be okay playing like Jackson and Halliburton together. And Jackson is, pretty much solidified in the rotation now. I think he's definitely earned to, his role of like 30 plus minutes a night. So he looks decent.
Tyrese or D Mitch?
Man. I don't know. I like the matchup a lot more for Donovan Mitchell, so I'll side with him.
I think I would too. I just feels more consistent. Like when I play a guy that's been disappointing all year, I'd rather play him when he finally nukes. Like his last 2 games have been 2 of his highest usage, 2 of the higher ones, and he shot 5 threes and 9 threes, which you love to see. Like Tyrese, like when he shoots 5+ threes, that's when you really can unlock the upside. Obviously, solid rebounder, he gets the assist, but yeah, 35 minutes. The minutes have been mediocre all year. 35 minutes, definitely solid. 30% usage last game, 9 threes. If he shoots more than 5+, I'd feel good about it. The thing is, like, LaMelo, just point guard eligible too, and he feels so strong today. I'd rather find that money. Ownership will do that or will reflect that. But, I mean, LaMelo's shooting 30+ times. Like, Tyrese, coming off his best game, he shot 12 for 23, and again, he shot 9 threes. So he was efficient. You're not going to see him dropping 30+ shots like you will LaMelo. So Pacers side's a little tougher for him to get to. They just have so many ways to beat you. I think Turner would be my favorite. I like it on FanDuel always a little more with the stock upside. Blazers side, I definitely like though. Banton, Abdia coming with ownership. Don't mind the Sharp or Simons as well. That's all I got for that one. Let's keep it moving to one of our favorite spots to attack. You see this high pace for the Bulls. Talked about it a lot this year. Have you taking on the Orlando Magic? 10.5-point favorites are the Magic, 224.5 total. Injury report in this one. Hey, Lonzo's questionable. Lonzo's questionable, baby. Jalen Smith is questionable. No Pat Williams. For the Orlando side, no injury. No Gary Harris, but no injury changes. But I will say, Franz Wagner has been an absolute monster. Finally, the price has come up, though. If you've been playing him all year, probably had a pretty solid year. 9.7K. He is small forward and power forward eligibility. Outside of that, I'm seeing some Jonathan Isaac ownership. Interested to hear your thoughts on that. Like Tristan Da Silva, he does start. He doesn't really do too much when he's out there. Last game, actually, his usage was fine. Other than that, he's just, if you like 17, 18 DK points, play him. I don't think it's really a stars and scrub slate yet. And we're probably going to get injury news that will make other values better in that range. So Franz or bust, tell me if you see it any other way.
No, that's kind of how I'm seeing this one. I don't see myself getting to any Chicago tonight with the return of Lonzo Ball. That pretty much is going to make Josh Giddey unplayable moving forward because we're going to be getting like 15, 16 minutes from Lonzo on a nightly basis. And Giddey has been getting cut down by other guys. So Giddey is down bad now. So I'm going to be off of him for the rest of the year as long as Lonzo is healthy. Orlando going to be getting Wendell Carter Jr. and Jalen Suggs back. So it should take a little bit of upside ceiling off of Franz a little bit. But that really just kind of muddies the waters for the center rotation now because they're going to be playing all 3 of Goga, Wendell Carter Jr., and Mo Wagner. I think they said Wendell will be limited to around 15, 16 as well. And then Jalen Suggs going to be cutting down the minutes upside of like Anthony Black and Cole Anthony. I think Cole Anthony has kind of earned his role back in the lineup. So he'll get some backup point guard minutes now. And I think Anthony Black just kind of takes over for Gary Harris, who's going to be out for a couple of weeks with the hamstring injury. But they do have depth. So nothing super glaring. Let me scroll back to my notes really quick. Sorry, because I wrote almost 10,000 words today trying to be prepared for the show.
You're an animal.
Yes, and this is also a back-to-back for Chicago, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of these guys sit. Like Jalen Smith has kind of been in and out of the lineup, not really doing too much. They don't I don't know who they have behind him. I think they have I forget the kid's name, but they have some backup center. We're not going to see like heavy minutes from these guys. They've had a pretty condensed schedule lately, coming off of the big win in the NBA season, NBA Cup game last night. So I wouldn't expect something too crazy tonight, but we do know that it is a good spot to attack with the Bulls being the top-ranked team in the league in terms of pace, terrible defense, going up against one of the best defenses in the league. I expect this game to blow out pretty easily with Orlando taking it. And yeah, Chicago's going to be an X out. On the Orlando side, definitely have interest in Franz. Going to see a slight decrease in usage, though, like I mentioned, with Suggs and Wendell Carter Jr. returning tonight. He should be able to get to the rim at ease here. I mean, there's nobody they're going to be able to put in front of him in that starting lineup. I think he's going to have too much of an advantage over Ayo Dosunmu, definitely over Zach LaVine, whoever else they try to throw at him.
Who do you think it'll be?
It's probably going to be – I think it'll be Ayo.
Yeah,
that
makes sense. I didn't know if they'd go Giddey with a little more. What isn't Giddey a couple inches taller but way slower? Ayo's gets up in there. Or is Ayo the same height?
I think Giddey's taller. He's pretty big.
He's
for
sneaky
point guards.
tall.
Yeah, but he's not like he's a white
weak.
guy.
Ayo will get up in you. Yeah,
he's not athletic really. Ayo's he's
6'5", 6'8". Yeah, huh?
Giddey's 6'8".
Yeah, bro. I knew he was sneaky tall. I looked it up one day. That's why I didn't know if it'd be one of those two, but. Yeah, they'll probably throw multiple bodies.
Yeah, it'll be Ayo, and then they'll probably throw like Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, those types of guys at him. But I mean, it's nobody like maybe Buzelis as well. He's been playing a little bit more. Yeah, but they don't like this team just doesn't have good defenders. It shows like their defensive rating. They're just getting killed, allowing the most points per game for opposing teams. So it's been a spot to attack. Somebody on Orlando is going to score a lot of points. I am pretty confident in that, and it's Franz is the most likely. He's just it's kind of I don't know, like almost 30% at almost 10K for a guy that is obviously it's a different situation. He's been amazing with Paulo out, been stepping up in a big way, has shown 60 point, 70 point upside. But I mean, he kind of showed what can happen if things are like everything is not. He only had 1 rebound last game, and adding Wendell Carter Jr. back into the mix, who's going to take some rebounding upside away, definitely hurts him. And then Suggs coming back definitely take a little bit of assist rate usage away from him as well. I just think there's a lot of ways that it could go wrong if he's not doing a little bit of everything. I do love the matchups. I'm kind of undecided what I want to do with Franz because I've been attacking the Bulls all season long with guys, and it definitely profiles very well in this spot. So I'm kind of undecided there. I probably would just be dropping all the way down. I'm not going to get to Suggs, any of the centers. I think Black and Isaac are okay values. Not really excited about playing Jonathan Isaac into chalk because he's not playing more than what he's projected to get. Like he's going to play 22 minutes tonight, and that's about it. You're just kind of hoping for high efficiency scoring from him, and definitely could happen here against this weak defense. So yeah, I'm not going to really get to De Silva. I think Black and Isaac are okay, and then still undecided what to do with Franz.
Yeah, shout out Colin. Dude is absolutely blowing up the chat. We'd love to see it. Halliburton's ass. No Franz for him. He likes Jalen Johnson pivot. I haven't seen Colin in here, so we appreciate it. G Mercier in here. He likes the Heat. Heat will be low on today. So appreciate everyone hanging out in here. Who's their favorite pivot from Franz? I don't know if you mean like in that game or in that range, but I mean, Rio breaks down every single spot. Like in that Franz range, I definitely like LaMelo more. Obviously different position.
There's no like true pivot because he's small forward, power forward. The only forward in that same range is LeBron. And I don't like LeBron as much. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, it's 11 game slate. You don't need direct pivots and stuff like that in NBA. I mean, you can just get on a different roster construction. You can just fade Franz or go somewhere else. If this game does blow out, none of these guys might get there. So, but yeah, I mean, Franz has been a complete monster this year, one of the best spots in the league against the Bulls. So I have interest in Franz. All right, let's keep it rolling. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out. All we ask, like button, subscribe button, helps us out a ton. 270 watching. Hope everybody getting ready for a nice Thanksgiving, wherever your plans are. Let's make a little NBA cheese tonight, parlay it in to some NFL winnings tomorrow. Keep it rolling to the next game on the slate. One that I don't think is getting much ownership, maybe a little bit on the Rockets side. Rockets and the 76ers, 219 total. We have Rockets 5.5-point favorites. As far as the Philly side, no Lowry, PG, or Embiid. Caleb Martin is questionable. Going to the Houston side, I don't think we have any injury news. I'm not seeing anything on the Houston side. Again, in terms of ownership, I don't think we see much in this game. I love Sengun. Where are we right here? 8,600 just still feels too cheap. He has 60-plus point upside as he showed multiple times. Center salad on this slate, but I think you can go 2 centers. I think point guard's really strong as well. So give me Sengun is by far my favorite play in this game. In terms of value and stuff, though, Rio, I will throw it to you on that. I guess not really value, but like Jabari Smith, I don't really like the guards much. Take it away. Not much interest on the 76ers for me as well.
Yeah, back-to-back for Houston here, where they just won in overtime in that NBA Cup game. Talked about it yesterday on the show with BJ, but I was expecting very tight rotation for Houston, and you pretty much saw an 8-man rotation. I mean, even Jalen Green got cut down a bit, which I was worried of, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not bumping up. Like, I tried to bump up Fred VanVleet and Sengun, but I just couldn't get enough at the minutes projection I was getting for them. Should have got them to like 38 to 40 minutes because I knew they were going to play a ton of minutes, but I still didn't get there, and they were the guys you needed to have last night. But yeah, I mean, these guys played a ton of minutes, had multiple of the starters see 38 plus minutes. Sengun and Fred VanVleet both played 40 plus minutes. So I would not be surprised to see somebody sit here. I think Fred VanVleet is the most obvious one just because he's a little bit older. Jalen Green didn't play a lot yesterday. This is an Eastern Conference team. I don't think you really worry too much about Philly either, just from a matchup perspective with no Embiid and Paul George. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Fred VanVleet sit here and see Jalen Green get more minutes tonight. He's been dealing with that illness tag, but getting a little bit healthier. So maybe he gets a nice bounce back spot here. And then, as is always the case with Fred VanVleet out, you're going to want to play Amen Thompson, but they might be easing him in from a minutes perspective. Played a ton lately, 38 last night, 35 against Portland the other night. I would still play him because I think he's just a point per minute monster with Fred off the court. Even right now, I would still play him at 5.5K if Fred was in, just because he does a little bit of everything. And this Sixers defense has been very bad, especially around the rim. So he can get some easy looks at the basket. I agree with you. I think Sengun is a pretty strong play. Going to have a big size advantage over Yabusele if they do start him at the 5. But yeah, it's really just a kind of wait and see approach on the injury stuff. Because if Fred VanVleet is out, then the projections are going to change a ton. If he's in, then probably not a ton of interest here. I think that Amen Thompson would be my favorite. I'd be okay getting away from Jabari Smith Jr. chalk. He's been shooting the ball a little bit better lately. Went 8 for 9 last game. But if you've watched any Rockets game, you know that the shot just doesn't look right. I didn't watch that game last night, so maybe he's kind of found it again. But, I mean, shot 3 for 10 the game before that. Still got there with the 3 blocks and 8 rebounds. But, yeah, I'm kind of okay getting away from Jabari chalk unless the slate really, like, if there's really no value, then I'd be okay getting there. On the Sixers side, I think that Tyrese Maxey is interesting in a terrible matchup just for the fact that he's probably going to be closer to full tonight, coming back from that the injury absence with the hamstring. Played 30 minutes last game. This is just a really cheap tag for Tyrese Maxey, a guy that we're used to paying $9K plus for with Embiid and Paul George out. So I'd be okay getting to Tyrese Maxey. McCain is a little bit too expensive now at 7.3K, but I think there's still a little bit of upside for him because he's going to have – it's really going to be like a Charlotte situation light with Maxey and McCain doing most of the offensive heavy lifting. And then if Caleb Martin were to miss, probably going to see KJ Martin slide into the starting lineup, and he'd be an okay value at 3.4K, but pretty low usage and low point per minute guy, so not a smash value by any means.
The Maxey tag, I need to see him and McCain play more. Like, McCain had a way higher usage rate last game than Tyrese Maxey. I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. But McCain also shot the ball awful, still at a higher usage. He's been so good. He chucks. I'm not convinced Maxey's going to have the same role this year as he did last year, especially with the Embiid pick and roll stuff, which the defense always had to make a decision. Give me Maxey with Embiid. Feels weird. I guess I don't know for sure what the numbers are, but in the pick and roll versus just him competing with another guard without that option, he has to do more ISO ball and his own stuff. I just got to see it at 8-1. Like, you can't mess it up. Point guard's absolutely loaded, too. I keep mentioning LaMelo. This next game we're going to talk about Harden. You can't mess that up at all. They are pivots. Like, he's going to be a lot less owned and is a little cheaper, but, like, give me 500 more. I know it's a different position. Give me Sengun on the other side. I just feel like the upside is a lot different. KJ Martin, I guess, would be my favorite play if Caleb Martin's out and he starts, but he's 3,400. I guess he's fine. I probably expect some better value to open up at some point. Some of these stars, random players might sit today getting ready for Thanksgiving tomorrow, an extra day off, and that'll open up a ton. So Sengun, by far my favorite. And I'm with you. That Jabari Smith chalk, he went 8 for 9 from the field, like 10% usage he had. Obviously, he can do it in other categories, but at this ownership, I mean, he's hardly had a usage above 20 like all year. So yeah, I don't love that chalk either. Let's keep it rolling, Rio. Mentioned James Harden. Good play in this game, coming with some ownership, but another big boy spread. Clippers taking on the Wizards, who's also on a back-to-back. Kuzma started unstoppable yesterday in the first quarter, slowed off a bit, but again, 11.5-point favorites are the Clippers. We have 223.5 total. Injury report in this one on the Clippers side. Norm Powell questionable, Mo Bamba questionable. Going to the Washington side, Jordan Poole is questionable. I love seeing Malcolm Brogdon back in action. Will only be a better play if Jordan Poole is not in. Point guard, shooting guard eligibility, fair price tag. I think he makes a little bit of sense. Don't think we need Coulibaly by any means in DFS, but man, I saw that clip on Twitter with him. Defensive machine, just hustling around a couple blocks. He's definitely a fun player, someone I'd love to play with. A guy like Coulibaly that doesn't need the ball. Clipper side, though, Harden's definitely going to be pretty owned. You talked about it since game one. Like, his role this year is almost second to none. It's old James Harden, step back city. But yeah, I think he's a strong play. Still LaMelo and Brandon Miller. Like, they're two of my favorite plays on this slate. I think they're such in good spots. You can play LaMelo and Harden. Point guard is really good today, and there's enough value. So yeah, take it away however you would like in this game. Do you think Poole plays?
Yeah, we literally just got the news like a minute or two ago that Poole's in. So yeah, don't really have to worry about the Washington side too much now. I guess I'll break it down as we go along in this game. But yeah, I think the expectation is that Norman Powell is gonna return tonight. Would expect a pretty strict minutes limit with the hamstring injury. I think he was a little bit ahead of schedule as well. So probably not getting 30 plus minutes from him, probably like 28 or so. But yeah, this is a really good spot for the Clippers. They generally been a very good defense this season. Kind of the numbers took a little bit of a hit after going up against Boston, where they just got destroyed, which is expected. I mean, Boston's just launching three, so they can put a ton of points in a hurry. But this should be a good spot for them against one of the worst defenses in the league. Wizards are actually dead last in defensive rating this season, allowing a ton of points at the rim lately. The three-point looks have been pretty easy for them, and transition defense has been not great. With Norman Powell returning, probably going to take a little bit of usage off of Harden. I actually thought the role was going to be a lot bigger for Harden this season. Like, I was expecting something a little bit along the lines of like Houston Harden. The usage has been decent, 28.7%, massive 40% assist percentage, and 11% rebounding rate, 7.4 minutes of touch time. So all very, very solid numbers, but I was expecting something like 35% usage rate. I was expecting the same assist percentage, just a little bit more scoring, but very good spot. The Wizards are allowing the second most fantasy points per game to point guards this season. Thinks a very good price tag for him. Need a bounce back spot after that big loss against the Celtics. I think that he's in a very good spot here. Nothing to argue against. Going to come with ownership, but ton of upside for Harden tonight. Zubac, this is the nut matchup for opposing big men, as it has been pretty much last couple of years, allowing the most fantasy points per game to centers this season. I think he's just an excellent floor ceiling type of play with double doubles in 6 of his last 9 games. I think that he could put up just a massive game here against a not so great defender. Alex Sarr getting a little bit better, but he can get exposed on defense, especially against guys that are very good post scorers. And I kind of mentioned it yesterday with Vucevic. He was towards the top of the league in post scoring. I think Zubac is first in the league, at least in post touches. So he looks like a very solid option as they run some of their offense through him. I think Chris Dunn is in play as a value play tonight versus a turnover-prone team. Kevin Porter Jr. going to see a little bit less usage now with Norman Powell returning, but should still get some minutes alongside Harden and the backup point guard minutes. So he looks fine, but nothing too glaring there. And then if Mo Bamba plays, I think that he can be in play as a value option at 3.2K, just because this is such a good spot for opposing big men, and he's a pretty good point per minute producer. So he looks like an okay value right now if the slate were to start in the next 10 minutes. On the Wizards sides, I don't think I'm really going to get to anybody here. I think Sarr would probably be my favorite play at 5.6K because he looks like he's pretty much running away with that starting job. They were playing Joval a little bit more earlier in the season, but we saw, last night he was pacing for 34 minutes before the blowout. And it's just a weird rotation for Joval. I know that me and Pensac were kind of tilting it because we played Joval at a little bit lower ownership last night. It was a really good matchup, and he played like 2 minutes in the first quarter and then got checked out, and then played like 3 minutes in the second quarter, and then like 5 minutes in the fourth or something like that. So it looks like they're just going to let Sarr just run with his job, and they want to get these young guys more minutes. But yeah, I don't think that you're really looking to go out of your way to play any Wizards guys tonight. I think Sarr would be the one. Kuzma is still a little bit too cheap, and I think he's kind of coming back to form. He took like 13 shots in the first quarter or something, looking like he was going to break the slate. Still was very good at 40 DK points last game, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not too interested in these Wizards guys.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Brogdon, if anybody, but because Poole's in, I'm with you. I still think Harden is a solid play. That 9K price tag, 30% usage in the last 4 games before they had 2020, which is interesting. Not a great game, though. I mean, big boy spread. Harden, relatively healthy teams, though, on both sides. 11 games. I think you can make it a 9-game slate. Didn't have much interest in the Miami stuff either. So on these big slates, especially if you're only playing a couple teams, crossing off games and stuff like that is a way to make it a little less hectic for you. So not much in that one. Let's keep it rolling. Still got, I think, like 5 games to talk about. We just got done with the 7 p.m. Eastern games. Great stuff as always, Rio. You keep it rolling. I'll just add in any little stuff that I see fit. This game I do think is going to take a little bit of time, though. The Knicks and the Mavericks, we have a 233.5 total. Knicks 4.5-point favorites. No injury news on the Knicks side. Not the case on Dallas, though. Grimes, Gafford, Lively, and Clay all questionable. Obviously, still no Luka. 3 of the 4 are illness tags as well. I mean, no Lively and Gafford are questionable. So one of them misses. I think the other is definitely a strong play. If they both miss, I don't even know what would happen. Maxi Kleber would probably slide into the 5, you think, and Washington go 4, unless they go small ball with Cat since he doesn't really bang too much down below. But I probably think it would be Kleber, Washington. My guess is one of them play. Maybe one of them sits. I'll let you take it over. Does Grimes or Clay injury news do anything to you? And then talk about, Gafford Lively situation. Bring it back to the Knicks stuff. It looks like Cat is a pretty strong play for me. He is expensive. I think I prefer the discount with Sengun if I had to pick, but I still like Cat and his upside for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the game with the most injury important news because there's a lot of ways that it could play out. Like, I do think one of Lively or Gafford sits tonight. Good chance both sit, and they would probably go. It would be one of Dwight Powell or Maxi Kleber getting the start at center. I would imagine that they just throw Dwight Powell out there and like let him kind of roughhouse with Cat a little bit. He's not super valuable in terms of what he brings to the team. Just kind of fills in where he sees fit, and this could be a spot where I can see him out there, kind of just the sacrificial lamb, like getting a couple fouls early on and just kind of playing tough defense on Cat. And then I would expect Kleber to get most of those center minutes, but there's a chance they could go a little bit more small ball, like you said, with PJ shifting up to the 5, because he's been a very good defender since he's come over to the Mavs. And they could put Najee Marshall at the 4 because
maybe they would do that because you want a backup 5. Like Cat's so soft down below anyway. He ain't backing down Washington like that and dominating them. So maybe that is the route. What do you think? You think it Marshall and PJ?
I would be a little worried that they put PJ. I don't know, because PJ is, especially if these guys miss, like they need him on offense too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I would kind of, I mean, there's a lot of ways they could play. I think the starting lineup obviously matters the most, but it does make sense. I think that regardless, we would see some PJ Washington center minutes with Najee Marshall filling in a lot if both of Gafford and Lively were to miss, because you're probably getting one rotation from Dwight Powell in both halves, and that's about it. So I would expect Kleber and Najee Marshall to play a big role. And it's not like the Knicks have it's not Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns front court. Like it's Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, like whoever you classify as the power forward. Like neither of them are like prototypical power forwards. So I think you can definitely get away with Najee Marshall playing the 4 and PJ playing the 5. But yeah, I mean the Quentin Grimes news and Klay Thompson news is pretty big. I think Klay is probably more likely to play tonight. Has that foot injury. I didn't really see too much in terms of like reporting on it, but it was a game against Atlanta. They probably felt like they could compete without him, and they won that game outright. So I think that he probably returns tonight. But if he does miss, then it's also an interesting route they could go, because Hardy is it'd be a very undersized backcourt with Kyrie and Hardy there. I guess it wouldn't matter too much because they have Brunson on the other side. Not saying that Brunson isn't a great offensive player or anything like that. I'm just saying he's undersized in terms of point guards. But Bridges does provide a little bit of a size mismatch for Jaden Hardy. They could hunt him down on defense a little bit. So they might go with Spencer Dinwiddie just to get a little bit more size out there. But yeah, also Quentin Grimes news. I mean, they definitely need him tonight for the matchup on Jalen Brunson. Definitely missed his on-ball defense last game. If he were to miss, then we're almost guaranteed to see Najee Marshall into the starting lineup, and he's got to play a ton of minutes tonight. Maybe they dust off some of these back end rotation guys. We saw Jazzy and Gortman get in there for some minutes last game. I have no idea what he does well. Maxence Prosper got in there. He's kind of been a mainstay in the rotation at times in his career there, but maybe Kessler Edwards gets in. So they have a little bit of depth, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of ways that this one could play out. And the Knicks side of things in terms of rotation, have seen Cameron Payne kind of eat into Mikal Bridges' minutes upside a little bit, as he's provided a very big spark off the bench, playing a little bit better than Miles McBride right now as well. So probably see a little bit more minutes favoring Campaign as we move forward, and Mikal Bridges kind of a little bit less minutes upside there basically. But yeah, really just the injury stuff on the Mavericks side of things. If we get Lively and or Gafford out, I probably won't have too much interest in Kleba, but I would have a ton of interest in PJ, and definitely a lot of interest in Najee Marshall. And then if Quentin Grimes and or Klay Thompson were to miss, Najee Marshall, big boost there, and then Hardy and Spencer Dinwiddie would see a lot more playing time. And yeah, I didn't really mention, but yeah, I love a spot for Cat here. He's the alpha of the team right now, second on the team in usage, but he's been he's been great this season. Really nothing negative to say about him, averaging 51.5 DK points per game, playing like a 10K plus player. So I think that he gets it going tonight again after they just blew out the Denver Nuggets. Shout out to Wardo. And then Jalen Brunson, pretty solid matchup. Been flashing a little bit more upside lately with double-digit assists in 4 of his last 5 games to give him a much higher floor-ceiling combo. Should go unknown tonight, as we have a lot of very strong plays at point guard with Halliburton, LaMelo Ball, some of the other guys that we mentioned. So he looks interesting. And then Josh Hart always has triple-double upside, a lot tougher to get to now at the 7K price tag. Same thing for OG. Been shooting the ball very well this season, coming off of his career high in points. Yeah, all these secondary guys are in play for sure, but I don't have a strong take on any one in particular. I'll probably still side with Hart just because I know that he's got that triple-double upside, but it's tough to overlook how good OG has looked this season.
Great breakdown. The moral of the story in this one, Mavs our injury report really big. This game's at 7:30. Hopefully we get it earlier. Starting lineup, projections will be updated, etc. So many Q takes that can absolutely flip the slate on the Dallas side. We're going to keep it moving. 4 games left. Awesome stuff as always, Rio. Hour talking these, what is that then? 7 games so far. 4 games left, 3 at 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 at 8:30. Some injury news in this one as well. Detroit Pistons. Memphis Grizzlies, 7.5-point favorites are the Grizzlies. Memphis side, no Ja, no Zach Edey. Detroit side, Cade doubtful, Tobias Harris questionable. Start right there. No Cade, or he's doubtful, so I'm going to say no Cade. Tobias, if he's out as well, how do we not get to some of these Pistons at very fair price tags? I want to shout out my man Malik Beasley. Help me make some cheese. Man, dude just absolutely strokes it and kept chucking at a fair price tag. I will definitely go right back to some Malik Beasley. Shout out to DraftKings. They definitely got the Jaden Ivey price tag right, assuming Cade does miss. So, yeah, break down this one.
Yeah, definitely would have been fun to watch Ja and Cade go head-to-head tonight, but we'll have to wait for that. I don't know if they play again this season, but, yeah, both those guys expected to miss tonight. Should see Scottie Pippen Jr. back in the starting lineup. Marcus Smart going to continue to come off of the bench as Jalen Wells has taken that starting roster spot at the shooting guard position / small forward position. And then if Tobias were to miss, then it would probably have Simone Fontecchio sliding into the starting lineup with Asar Thompson taking a little bit of a bigger role. But like we we know with Asar, he's coming back from the blood clot injury. Did not play in his first game that he was available, and then got up to 16 minutes last game. So would probably still expect like 18 to 20 from him at the most, with Simone taking on probably closer to 28 to 30. And he would look like a pretty solid value in a matchup that would kind of play into his offensive game a little bit. In terms of like the macro view of this game, both these teams have been very solid defensively, but they do have two pretty big areas of weakness. On the Memphis side of things, it's their pick and roll scoring has been very good, rim defense very good, but their 3-point defense has been pretty bad this season, allowing 14 3-pointers per game, which is towards the bottom of the league, and allowing the third most catch and shoot frequency in the league for opposing teams. So yeah, some of these secondary guys like Malik Beasley, like you mentioned, Tim Hardaway Jr., as gross as it is, I probably wouldn't play him just because he's shooting the ball terribly and really has no usage to speak of. But Simone Fontecchio more of a off-ball guy. So Malik Beasley and Fontecchio would look very good. I like Beasley regardless tonight if Harris is in or out. I just think that the role has been solid for him. Pretty much second on the team in scoring the last couple of games. He's done very well in matchups that are slightly similar. I mean, the Bucks game, which won you a ton of money, he put up 16 3-pointers in that game, 26 points, and then a game against Washington, who is allowing a good amount of off-ball catch and shoot stuff. He put up 26 in that game as well. So I think that he makes for a pretty solid option at 5.6K in a good matchup. The Pistons' main area of weakness is their pick and roll defense. Obviously, losing Ja will hurt the Grizzlies from a scoring perspective, but Scottie Pippen Jr. stepped up in a very big way last time out when nobody was on him except for us. Should see a very big increase in usage as well. He sees he has averaging 13.8 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, and 5.9 assists per game in just 27 minutes, but that could probably get up to 30 tonight. I mean, they still run a pretty deep rotation, so we're probably not going to see more than 32 from anybody in particular tonight, but I still think at 5.9K, he's shown to be a very, very good point per minute producer with Ja off the court this season. So I really like the spot for Scottie Pippen Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr., pretty solid spot for him as well. Not a great matchup on the interior for from a scoring perspective for Jaren Jackson, going up against Duren and Isaiah Stewart, who have been very solid down low, but definitely going to see increased usage for JJ with no Ja tonight, plus 3.6% usage rate increase, averaging 41.7 DK points per game in a 9-game sample. Desmond Bane is kind of a tough deciding point on this slate because last season was, he was very good in games without Ja. This season really not been that great. And most recently in that game against Chicago, he only put up 26.25 DK points, which is like one of the best matchup for how he likes to play, scoring out of transition, things like that. But he's just averaging 1.09 points per minute with Ja off the court this season, and we're not getting 34 minutes from him most likely. If I don't play Bane, I would probably want to get to JJJ or Scottie Pippen Jr. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I don't really have a strong take on Bane. I think that he does make some sense in the mid tier, but the role has just not looked all that good for him. Last guy I'll mention on the Grizzlies side of things, I think that Santi Aldama, he's been very good this season and quietly continues to crush in limited minutes. Kind of playing too good to take him off the court in my eyes. I mean, he had 17 boards in that last game, averaging 1.2 points per minute with Ja and ED off the court. So I think that he makes a little bit of sense if you're 115 tonight. He's going to go unowned and all he does is just put up points.
Great breakdown. I don't mind Bane because, he saw the usage in a couple games. I love the guard forward eligibility, and he's still under 7K. Would you be happy with 40 today? 40 from Bane can be on the winner, right? Or 11-game slate, you want even more?
No, I think 40 is good enough, sub 7K.
Yeah, and I think he definitely has that in his bag today. Yeah, I'm not in love with this game by any means. I don't really have too much more to add. I like a lot of these earlier games more than most of these later games. I think my favorite play is definitely Beasley and Pippen. I think Scottie Pippen's interesting.
Last guy I'll mention, it is nice that they've given Brandon Clark the power forward eligibility now, and he's been playing a lot better. Apparently, they're running a new offensive scheme, and it's kind of played more into Brandon Clark's strengths as an offensive player, and you kind of see it 12 points. It's not a lot, but it's kind of a lot for him. 12 points in the last game and then 11 in the game against Portland. The rebounding numbers look pretty good. Starting to play a little bit more as well, 24, 25 minutes. So I think that he's a fine value option as well.
Hey, changing the offense and seeing immediate production in 2 games. And then I've always been a fan of Brandon Clark. I've always thought he's a very good point per minute guy, above the rim, good defense, good on defense. Yeah, give me some Brandon Clark at no ownership. I like that shout for sure. Bane, Scottie Pippen, Clark, Malik Beasley. That's how I see it on the Pistons side. Let's keep it going.
You see the Josh Hart tweet the other day?
No,
Even though
I didn't.
Yeah, he said nobody cares about your parlays, but he's out here tweeting about his NFL parlays and promoting Bet365. So it's pretty funny.
That is definitely, yeah. I mean, that's quite the interesting hypocrisy right there. But
Yep.
Let's keep it going. Couple games left. Kings, Timberwolves, 3.5 point favorites are the Timberwolves. 218 total. Injury report in this one on the Sacramento side. No DeMar DeRozan. Minnesota side, nothing to worry about. No DeRozan immediately, and then I look at ownership, and again, we have to update ownership. I messaged the team; they'll be working on that. But Fox, Sabonis, without DeRozan, both will be relatively low owned. I would probably max one, but I think both are very strong plays as pivots. Interested in your thoughts if you're going to shy away from Gobert defense. I mean, I know Yoke makes him look like one of the worst defenders when he plays them. I know Gobert is a solid defender. Does Sabonis have that footwork to dominate him? Other side, is McDaniels going to get Fox treatment? If so, I don't love that. But again, offense will always beat defense. Outside of that, man, I don't like this game really at all. So talk to me about how you think the Fox-Sabonis matchups go. Obviously, we know Gobert is guarding him. And anything else you like in this one?
Yeah, a lot of moving pieces for the Sacramento side in terms of how the back end of the rotation is going to shake out with no DeRozan, because Trey Lyles is going to be out as well, which definitely makes sense when you look at the signing of Jay Crowder. But he's definitely not going to be available tonight, so we'll have to try to see how they play it. They've been going with the starting lineup of Sabonis, Fox, obviously Keegan Murray, Herter, and Keon Ellis, but they'll probably do that again tonight. They'll definitely be a little bit undersized, so there's a slight chance that it's this Isaac Jones guy who has center only eligibility. Probably not somebody you're looking to play, but if they want to get more size out there, which is kind of something you need to do against Minnesota, he does make a little bit of sense. Also, Kevin Herter been not playing great lately. Keon Ellis playing much better. Herter only played 10 minutes in the last game, so I think that his minutes are very shaky tonight. So there's we could see some weird starting lineup for the Kings tonight. I would not be surprised at all. And then Conley's coming back, so that will take off some of the minutes upside of those guys that are filling in, like Dante, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Rob Dillingham. But Rob Dillingham was talked up a bunch. I know we have a lot of Minnesota Timberwolves fans in our Discord that are kind of hoping that he plays more minutes, but I think that he's definitely earned it. I mean, he's played great. You look at the plus minus yesterday against the Rockets, he had it was like plus 20 or plus 30 or something like that. And Dante DiVincenzo has been playing very bad lately, kind of not doing what the Wolves signed up for, which is, having this knockdown 3-point shooter that is supposed to be a pretty solid on-ball defender. He hasn't really been all that great this season. They also Chris Finch actually talked about getting Naz Reid more involved as a small forward as well. So kind of another feather in the hat for some of the guys on the Kings in terms of getting more size on the court. But yeah, as we've seen a couple times throughout the season, 3 games missed with DeMar DeRozan. De'Aaron Fox has been great. Had that crazy stretch where he, against Minnesota, put up 60 against them, 60 real points. So I don't think you're too worried about the individual matchup there. Put up 50 against my Jazz, 49, but rounding up. I mean, he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. He's going to play a ton of minutes. Like, Mike Brown can't take these guys off the court because they're kind of in do or die mode right now in terms of trying to save their season. Being like middle of the pack, they definitely need to rattle off some wins, and this could be a good spot for them to get those minutes extended against the Wolves coming off of that overtime loss. So, yeah, I think Fox is a very strong play at 9.1K. Going to be very low owned and a pivot off of James Harden, who is arguably in a much better situation in terms of matchup, but the role is going to be very good for De'Aaron Fox. I think that he makes a ton of sense, and I'm not too worried about the matchup against McDaniels. McDaniels did hold him in check last season, but De'Aaron Fox is going to have increased usage 31.35% with DeMar off the court this season. Sabonis, he's taken it to Rudy Gobert in a couple of the games that they've seen each other while he's been on the Kings. Not too worried about that. There's a very, very small sample with DeMar off the court this season, but his usage has come way down, actually, 18.5%, but does see increased assist rate at 31.5%, right around 1.25 fantasy points per minute. Not really looking too deeply into that because it's just a very small sample.
Yeah, that'd be really surprised if that held true. Like, why would DeRozan ISO ball guy off the court hurt Sabonis? But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I was looking at there's not really that big of a sample, so obviously like take it all with a grain of salt, but their offense has been pretty bad without DeMar on the court this season. Pretty much everybody in the starting roster posting a sub 95 offensive rating, which is, that's not good. But yeah, I expect those numbers to get a little bit better as we get more of a sample, but yeah, he's been good against Gobert. 17.7 points per game, 12 rebounds, 7.5 assists in those matchups last season, averaging right around 52 DK points. Definitely expect him to take a step forward. Yeah, I think that Gobert is a very good defender. Obviously, we discussed it a bunch on the Discord throughout the season, but he's a good defender against certain matchups. Like we saw Sengun give it to him last night, and Sengun is the type of guy that has very good footwork, very good scoring around the rim. Sabonis is very similar. Like he's a very, very solid post scorer. So I think that he's definitely got the advantage here in terms of this matchup against Gobert. One guy I really like tonight in the mid 5K range is Malik Monk because they are going to need a lot more offense with DeMar out tonight. Looks like a very good GPP play at decently low ownership. Sees a near 6% usage increase with DeMar off the court this season. Going to be running that second unit. I don't think Kevin Huerter's minutes are very safe, so he could possibly get up to 28 to 32 minutes, and we know that this is a type of guy that can put up 30 real-life points, and they're going to need some scoring tonight. So I like Monk. As far as the Kings go, I don't really have too much to add. The matchup is good for the three-point shooters. Kings allowing a ton of three-pointers per game, a lot of catch-and-shoot stuff. So like Ant on paper has a good matchup, but 9.5K, a little bit tough to get to. Kind of seen his upside be capped sharing the court with Julius Randle. So I'm not really looking to get to either of those guys. Definitely not looking for upside from a guy like Rudy Gobert. I think Naz Reid is always in play, kind of the same type of play on the other side of Malik Monk. Very good off the bench guy, and they talk about getting him more minutes. So he's only 4.9K, coming off a pretty good outing. So I like Naz Reid, Malik Monk, a good bid here, and then both of the King studs.
Great breakdown as always, Rio. 2 games left. You got this. Hydrate a little bit while I talk. Next game, Pelicans and the Raptors. This is the last game at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we have one at 8:30. That does wrap up the DraftKings main slate. If you want the 3 games on FanDuel, got to be a member. Check it out at the Stone. Projections, of course, as always. We'll have Showdown content as well, which you can find right by our man Rio. NBA, Showdown, Slate Plan always does a phenomenal job. And again, if you're not a member, no better time to get over. You want NBA access? BF50 gets you 50% off all access for 1 month. $69 goes down to, $34.50. $99 goes down to $48.50. My math could be off a set, but you get 50% off monthly access. Definitely do get in the Discord. 2 games left, Rio. Nice work as always. Next game on the slate. Some injury news in this one. Raptors, Pelicans, 222.5 total. Pelicans 3-point favorites. No injury news much on the Toronto side. No Grady Dick. But no Q tags at least. Pelican side, Ingram, Trey Murphy, Jordan Hawkins, all questionable. Start with the Pelican side and those injuries. Obviously, if we knew Ingram would be out, some of these other guys would become better plays. But you do have DeJounte, CJ, Elf. Man, Elf was absolutely balling. Start with the Pelican side. Do you have any leans on these Q tags?
Yeah, I've been complaining about the Elf stuff because I played him against the Warriors the other night. In arguably, I mean, the matchup is definitely worse, but the role was better because no Ingram, CJ coming back off the injury. He didn't do that great in that game. Then, yeah, had the highest assists we've seen all season, surpassed Trae Young, and that one had 26 potential assists in that game, so it was running super hot. But that'll probably be the last time we get to play Elf Payton for a while, unless we get some back-to-back stuff and we see multiple guys sit. But yeah, Pelicans getting healthier now with DeJounte Murray set to return. Going to be on They said he's going to be on a minutes limit. I don't know. I think he's closer to full than whatever the minutes limit would be. I don't know what full is because he only played 30 minutes in that season opener against Chicago. So it's probably 30 minutes, I would say. Don't think that they really need to like rush him back or anything like that. But yeah, I think that he's more closer to 30 than he would be to like 25 tonight. Ingram, I think that he is probably going to sit tonight. Has not been practicing. Even Herb Jones is doing some more on-court stuff, and Brandon Ingram has not been practicing. So I think that there's a good chance that he sits again here, which would probably have Javonte Green in the starting lineup as they need some defense out there. CJ McCollum's still on the minutes limit. I guess he's on the minutes limit. Played 32 in that game against Indy, or 31 against Indy, 31 against Indy. So, yeah, so he's probably right around 32. And then Toronto side, they look pretty healthy. Scotty Barnes getting back to full health. I'll start there because I do like the matchup a lot here for Scotty Barnes. The Pelicans have been a team we're looking to attack all season long. They'll definitely get better defensively as they add guys like DeJounte Murray and Herb Jones back into the mix. But as of right now, we should still expect them to be a pretty weak defense, especially around the rim. They're second worst team at rim defense, allowing a ton of three-pointers, fourth most transition points per game this season. So I like the spot for Scotty Barnes here a lot. He's had a very strong role since returning. Last 2 games when he got his full minutes allotment, he was at a 27.6% usage rate, 33% assist percentage, 13% rebounding rate, and just around 6 minutes of touch time. So his involvement on offense definitely has me interested in him from a floor ceiling perspective. I think that he's got that triple-double upside, as you can see with the assist and rebounding rates. They both look really good. So I think that he's got a ton of upside here at 8.7K in a matchup versus a team with very weak rim protectors. I'm probably going to be off RJ Barrett until the price comes way down. He's going to be losing a lot of usage to Scotty Barnes, so I'm okay getting away from him. Jakob Poeltl is a very good on-paper matchup. The Pelicans allowing the 4th most fantasy points per game to centers over the last week. Price is still pretty up there, and the minutes have come down a little bit, so probably not somebody you're going out of your way to play. Definitely prefer Zubac for a lot cheaper, and then Sengun a little bit more expensive. And then outside of that, I don't think that you're really looking to these Toronto guys outside of Scotty Barnes. Really, I think Jakob Poeltl is kind of a fringe play. On the Pelican side, I'm probably not going to get so much here. I like Yves Missy a little bit here. Got the start in the second half over Daniel Tice. For whatever reason, they started Tice that game, and then that got to Missy in the second half. Played 31 minutes against Miles Turner. Talk about it with him in the past. You want to play him in matchups against teams where he won't get played off the court. Jakob Poeltl, more prototypical type of center, so definitely see pretty strong minutes out of him. And if the slate were to start right now, he'd be one of the better values on the slate, so I like him a good bit. Probably not going to get to any of these secondary guys. Maybe with Ingram out, you can get to Trey Murphy, but it's a little bit tougher with DeJounte Murray returning and CJ McCollum getting healthier. A lot of guys that are higher usage players makes it a lot tougher to get to Murphy at almost 7K.
Great stuff, Rio. Great breakdown. 1 game left. You got this. I got nothing to add. You are too good. Next game on the slate, Lakers and the Spurs. We have a hold on, where are we at? So much going on. 228 total. We have the Lakers as 1.5 point favorites. Lakers side, Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, questionable. No Bronny James. How sad. Those 2 are questionable. Spurs side, no injury news to talk about. There we go. Again, Knecht and Cam Reddish on the Lakers side. Do you have any interest? Well, we talked a little pre-show. AD, LeBron, both up there. I'm definitely good with AD. I will say LaMelo is my top spend on the slate, assuming he does play. There could be enough value where you have AD and LaMelo. And you can also use Lakers, Spurs. This game's the last game to start at 8:30 as more backloading pieces like Maverick stuff. Doesn't come out right away. Again, there is a lot of games at 7 Eastern. So I'm not necessarily recommending that, but flexibility that others might not have. Ingram is still projected in at almost every place. If he is out, that will bump some CJ stuff of the world. So I don't know how much interest I really have in this game. I know Anthony Davis is my favorite play. Wemby always has the upside, though. CP3's been fine. You take it away, though. AD really for me. How do you see the injury designations as well?
Yeah, so the injury stuff for the Lakers is a little bit tougher to sift through because Jackson Hayes is gonna miss here. He had a bad ankle turn towards the end of the game, so should see Christian Koloko get in there for those backup center minutes behind Anthony Davis, which should be probably no more than 10 to 12. But yeah, Reddish and Connect Q tags. I guess it's slightly big for the rotation. I mean, Cam Reddish is a starter, so that would open up a starting spot for probably D'Lo or Max Christie. I think they like D'Lo off the bench. He actually played into a blowout as well last game, so pretty bad look for him. Kind of tells you how they view him in terms of the rotation pieces. But they would be very thin if Connect were to miss. Definitely would see more minutes from Rui and Max Christie if that were the case for him to miss. I don't know exactly how bad the injury is, but the Cam Reddish stuff is more injury management. He was obviously out for a big portion earlier this season, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him miss. And then also Wemby on a back-to-back. Got to keep an eye on that. He did come off of the knee injury, got banged up a little bit last game, but was fine. It was just like a knee-to-knee thing. I don't know. Their coach said that the interim coach basically said we'll see if he can play in a back-to-back. He played 37 minutes last night, so if he does get the green light to go, not expecting something like 37, maybe it's closer to like 32 to 33. Even then, he would still be a very good play, and I'll mention why in a second. But the Lakers have been a train wreck on defense, which is funny. You add a guy like Cam Reddish into the starting line, supposed to be a very good defender, but Lakers are pretty down bad right now. Bottom 4 defensive rated team, allowing the 4th most points at the rim, 2nd most transition points behind the Utah Jazz. So I think this could be a pretty decent spot for some of these Spurs scorers. It definitely makes it a lot tougher. Adding Devin Vassell back into the mix, Keldon Johnson back into the mix, kind of takes away some of that scoring and minutes upside for a guy like Stephon Castle and Chris Paul. But I still think there's a little bit of upside on Wemby. But the Spurs allowing some three-pointers right now, that's pretty much their main area of weakness. Obviously, their rim defense would take a big hit if Wemby is not in there. But, so we already got the Sixers starters 2 hours early with Caleb Martin being ruled out. So they're going to go double big tonight.
Big drum.
Yep. We can circle back to that in a second. But, as far as the Lakers stuff go, I like Anthony Davis and LeBron James a good bit here at spend ups. AD's done very good versus this matchup against Wemby, averaging 35 points per game, 11.7 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, right around 58 DraftKings points per game. Been great all season long, leading the team in scoring and usage rate. 35 minutes is like on the lower end for AD after they got blown out last game. We should see, full minutes from him, 37, 38, which would make him one of the better spend-ups tonight. So I like AD a good bit. Trae Young is in too, getting injury news as we're on the show. And LeBron right there, he was pretty close to triple-double again last night. That's pretty much what we're going to expect from him. If D'Lo is in the starting lineup, I would think that kind of sneakily hurts LeBron because he's seen a very big increase in touch time, assist, and all that stuff. He's pretty much running the point for the Lakers right now. I love the matchup for him against Harrison Barnes. Put up 56.5 against him earlier this season with a triple-double, and good pivot off of Franz, I think. So I don't mind LeBron at all. And then Austin Reeves and D'Lo, I'd be max one of those two. I'm probably just siding with D'Lo now for the 2K price difference, but if one of AD or LeBron were to miss with this being a back-to-back, definitely would make Reeves a lot more enticing. I think Rui Hachimura you could get to if Connect were to miss, but you're not getting to Max Christie or Gabe Vincent, anything else like that. If Reddish is out, doesn't really do too much. And then Wemby, I think that he's going to be a sneaky high upside option here after coming off the 37-minute game. Like I mentioned, probably going to be a little bit more limited. They got Charles Bassey into the mix a little bit last night along with Zach Collins, so they have enough front court depth behind him. But he's been amazing against the Lakers in his young career. 3 meetings, he's averaging 28.3 points per game, 12.3 rebounds per game, 5 assists, and 8 stocks, averaging 67.3 DK points per game. It's just, he doesn't need a ton of minutes to get there. Taking a ton of 3-pointers right now, like double digit in the last 5 games. So if he's knocking down 6-7 of them, and then he's got the steals and block upside, I think that he's a pretty solid spend up, and nobody's gonna be going there with him being the highest spend on the slate. I'll definitely look to get to some of him. Really no interest on the secondary guys. Stephon Castle, fine as a last man in. Lakers do struggle against guards a bit. They are bad against transition scores, allowing a good amount of turnovers per game. So it could be one of those games where he gets 3 to 4 steals and gets a lot of easy looks in transition. But Wemby is my favorite play on the Spurs, and then I like both the spend ups for the Lakers.
You're insane, Rio. 10,000 words. You can absolutely tell. Hour 25 minutes talking 11 games. You are absolutely nuts. I think that might lead to a shipper today. Anything you wanted to circle back on the drum stuff? Otherwise, the injury news we do have a 5K for Drummond.
Yeah, I mean I think that makes him a very solid play. Obviously, he's been very bad straight up just bad this season. Definitely makes some of the matchups for the Rockets a little bit better too, because their rim defense has been very bad with Drummond in there.
Gonna eat.
Yeah,
that's it, Sengun.
But Drummond, I mean, with him starting, they're probably giving him 25 to 28 minutes tonight. They do have some front court depth with Adem Bona going to slide in there, and KJ Martin as well at the 4. So they have those 2 guys behind Yabu and Drummond. But yeah, I mean, we were playing Drummond at like 7.5K earlier this season. I have no reason not to play him at 5K. I'll definitely be playing a lot of Drummond.
Amazing stuff, Rio. Any final words before I do a little spiel and we get on out of here?
Nope, I'm all good. I'm worded out.
Great stuff, of course. If you do want all of Rio's, I can't show it. What is going on? Can't show it right here. Rio puts too much work, but when he's not on the show, he always has a slate plan too. Even when he is on the show, the slate plan's in here. He does such a good job talking it throughout or to everyone. But if you want his rankings, top tier, mid tier, lower tier, you can find that in the slate plan. His core report, as well as BJ's, who's been on fire, Ham the man for FanDuel. I have cash reports. Again, showdown content will be up tonight. Very solid night slate. Good prize pools as always. And again, no better time to join. Thanksgiving tomorrow. Big boy football slate. BF50 gives you 50% off your first month, whether it's with Shiptimizer or without. Does include the Discord as well. Make sure to get in. If you just want football, you see the prices down there. But you're watching the basketball show. You know you want some hoops content. Awesome stuff, Rio. That was very, very impressive. You have an awesome Thanksgiving. Tell the family I say hi. Enjoy the nights. Hey, let's make some money tonight. Good stuff. Appreciate every single one watching as always. Like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Be safe tonight. We will be back next show, Hoop and I on Friday, talking a little showdown NFL. If it's not a good day tonight, it's not a good day tomorrow. Bankroll management always could be a good day Friday. Have a good night. Be safe. For Rio, I'm Titletown. Peace. Good luck.